the Everything But Politics podcast.
All right, episode 161 today. We're rocking and rolling. We got the founder of PGAMemes in 5-9 Media, Travis Miller. Travis, how are you, brother? Good to have you on the show.
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to join you guys. You guys done a ton of episodes with a lot of cool people, so honored to jump on and be a guest with you guys.
Yeah, it's great to now feature you as a part of our community. Travis, I guess let's begin. You know, we recently had the last big event of 2025, which was the Ryder Cup at Bethpage Black. Pretty weak, all in all. When you saw that, were you there, by the way?
I wasn't there. I had some opportunities to go, and I'm a big fan of like watching some of these big events at home. It's just much better experience. And I had some opportunities for some even some VIP stuff, but when I dug into the logistics of it, it sounded like you had to be on a train to go in and out an hour each way and all that stuff. And I'm like, man, I'm getting too old for that. That just doesn't sound like that great of an experience to me. So I'm going to watch it at home, and kind of glad I did, man, because until Sunday, it really was a snooze fest.
Yeah, it sure was. Well, we saw the setup. It was made easier than I think all of us had anticipated. With your buddies or anyone that you knew on the grounds, what did they say about the experience on Long Island?
Yeah, I mean, just the same thing. I mean, I think Bethpage Black has proven to be one of the most difficult courses on the planet, and it could have been way more difficult, like we saw at previous, major championships, and it wasn't, and that's unfortunate. I think it could have definitely helped out the United States. I think you have the opportunity, being on home ground, to stage it and set it up the best that suits your team. And I was kind of surprised to hear, Keegan Bradley make some of those remarks after the event. Kind of thinking, as a captain, he would have a hand in how the course is set up and staged. And maybe that's not the case. I don't know, but I think that was a little unfortunate. I think the fan experience. I mean, listen, it's unfortunate. I've been to the Ryder Cup once before. I was in Minnesota, and actually, sorry, I've been to two. I've been to Minnesota and then in Wisconsin at Whistling Straits. Yep. And I'll say my experience at both of those was really cool. It felt like you were at a football game at a golf event, which is very unique. And you got a lot of pride and a lot of noise, which isn't what you're typically going to expect at a PGA Tour. Even a live event, I know it gets a little rowdier there, but it was always pretty tame in sense of, the fanfare of going at the other team, the Europeans. I'd say in Minnesota, it was coming off Danny Willett winning the Masters when he came back when Spieth imploded on the 12th hole. And it wasn't Danny's fault, but his brother kind of went on a rampage on Twitter and just really dug a hole for Danny, unfortunately, and kind of made it to where all the Americans were rallying and just saying the most crazy stuff and just going at Danny. I mean, right on the tee boxes. It was pretty wild. It was something you would never see at a typical golf event, which even then I was like, man, hey, this is teetering on the line here, but I understand it. All good. But to see kind of a lot of what was going on this year with like Rory's wife and some of the other players, just like, I don't know, a little disappointing, because I think golf definitely has evolved into being a little more than that traditional stuffy, very like respectful sport, even as a spectator. But I think it went maybe a little too far. But, New York, I mean, you kind of grow to expect you're going to get the rowdiest fans probably out of New York, out of anywhere, right?
Well, and Travis, with your page, you could sometimes, people might take it as over the top, right? Some of the memes you post. How are you conscious of what you post? You just like don't give a shit anymore. You just posted funny stuff because it's funny.
That's a great question. I mean, it comes and goes. I think at first, when I started this, I didn't really know what I was doing, right? I loved memes and I loved golf. I was a baseball and football player growing up.
Nice.
And I started playing golf when I got into a career where I had to go out and like service clients and prospects, and we were out on the golf course a lot. And I had to learn golf quickly, but I learned it was a lot more fun than what it shows on TV. You're betting, you're drinking, you're at cigars, you're talking smack, having a good time. I was like, hey, this is a lot of fun. And you're outside, right? And even if it's the typical Muni course in your city, it's a lot prettier to be out there and more fun to be in your office at a desk or a cubicle. Um, but after about a month or so, I kind of realized, hey, people like that edginess. They like the opportunity to go after players uh, and events. And, you see that a lot with NFL type memes, NBA parody type
Yeah.
posts and memes. With golf, it's tougher because it's more individualized. So you have a handful of guys who are maybe struggling at any given moment in time, and maybe their struggles go throughout the entire season, or they go into a slump for a couple of years. It gets tough because when you start really going hard at those guys, it starts to feel more of like a personal attack
Yeah.
versus making fun of the Cleveland Browns or the Chicago Bears. So you guys are fans of, it's like
Yep.
you might take those personally as a fan, but you're not you realize that as a fan, you're like, oh man, we suck right now, or this player sucks, or they made a big mistake. So definitely I've learned over time of, where to kind of set the boundaries. And then there's just times where, Ryder Cup or different majors, you kind of have to take the gloves off and just be a little bit more raw and have fun with it, because I think that's what people like to see. I think they like to see some of the stuff they're thinking, but they're afraid to say publicly. And you gotta toe the line a little bit. I think earlier on, to answer the question more clearly, it was just kind of for fun, right? For me. And I wasn't here to make friends. I wasn't here to really monetize this and turn it into a media platform.
Yeah.
And then as it grew quickly in the first 4 to 6 months, I did see an opportunity to turn this into a platform where, you could do really cool things, give back to charity. You could create a lot of different avenues of content, both short, long form, meme humor, all that stuff. And I started getting invited to certain events, to go to tournaments and to rub elbows with some of these people. And I could say there was definitely a few times it was awkward where I went hard at some of the players or some of the people and had to be around them for an extended period of time or meet them and explain myself or try to dig myself out of a hole a little bit. And so at this point now, it's definitely got to be a little more mindful of it, but it's all in good fun. I'm not out here personally attacking anybody. You just got to be real and say it how it is and what you see.
Paulo Celine's newest song, Just Might Win, out now on all platforms. Who knows? You just might win. Now back to the episode. Yeah, well, Travis, so I think when I originally reached out, one of the things that drew me to you and, of course, PGAMemes is our love for golf, which is clear. We've had a lot of golf people on the show, but you've built a media company, which I think a lot of people kind of just look at as a meme page, but you've built a true media entity in a very great space, which is golf. So I want to go back to that light bulb moment for you. Where it's like, you know what? I'm gonna go in on golf, create PGA memes. What was the first year like?
Yeah, I mean, it was just about building and growing the page and the community, and just trying to get the name out there, right? I had a great career in the smart home security space. I started that right out of college and started a company with some friends. And um, I exited that company to go on to the corporate world, which was still in the smart home security space, but it was one of the top two alarm companies in the United States. And so I was doing this all on the side, and I just saw, hey, this was a real opportunity to grow something. And as the community continued to grow and started connecting with different celebrities and athletes and some of these pro golfers, it kind of started to motivate me more to do more and get creative. And my background is in digital marketing and events and different strategic marketing initiatives. And so when I was able to like see it really grow and I saw that it had some promise, that's when I was like, hey, there's some real cool opportunity to do more with this and evolve it into something that I'm really specialized in. Cause like meme humor and dark humor, having a sick, twisted mind, a lot of us have that. Some of us don't, but that wasn't really fulfilling to me. It was like I could grow this meme page to, however many hundreds of thousands of followers or millions of followers. But at the end of the day, is this something that I really want to hang my hat on? And this is what I want to do exclusively. And so there was an opportunity where I could transition to where I could start creating more meaningful forms of media within PGAMemes, but I also started 5 9 Media, which you referenced in the beginning, where we work on the digital space with pro athletes, notable golf brands, and golf courses across the United States, and do some really great stuff for them, which has been really kind of more what excites me. That's really more where my specialty lies, and to be able to do those both simultaneously is awesome. And some of those doors, the people who we work with 5 9 probably couldn't have opened without having PGAMemes. It kind of gave me a little bit of a foot in the door in the golf space, but also was able to help me cultivate some relationships. But a lot of people don't know my background. So when I was starting to kind of build out 5 9 and talk through some of the stuff that we could do and help service some of these people, I think there was a little bit of a, well, but you run a meme page. Like, what are you going to do for me? And it's like, well, let's take a step back. Actually, like, I do run a meme page. You're right, but that's not what I've always done, and that's not what I'm best at. And we have a team of people, and here's what we can do. So now that we have proof of concept and we work with a lot of notable people and notable brands, the doors have certainly swung wide open for us to do some really cool stuff. And we're really excited, and I'm humbled by the opportunities that we've had over the last few years.
That's awesome. It's we began as a meme page as well, Travis, and it kind of just really just like t- taking random content from the internet and repurposing it and posting it across all platforms. But to be honest, that was not fulfilling at all. I don't know if you felt that way. And then when we really went in on the clips and the podcast, that became way more, fulfilling and purposeful. Did you feel that way about 5 9 Media rather than just posting random golf content and memes?
Yeah, I mean, so 5 9 we don't have any meme humor or anything on 5 9. Obviously, like 5 9 will service PGAMemes, and we'll do some creative clips or skits or whatever. But I'll tell you, with what you just said, I mean, that translates to a lot of different brands that we work with. Some of the strategy that I'd give them, oftentimes when it's a new brand or it's a brand that's maybe stagnant and looking to change course or gain a little traction, I'll always suggest, hey, you have to have some underlying tones of humor or parody or meme humor within your brand. I wouldn't say that has to be necessarily your identity. Now, some brands have certainly made that such, but others have, maybe been a little more fearful for that strategy. But I just think overall, like meme humor or, parody to some degree, it just resonates with such a broader audience of people to where you can have some of that kind of sprinkled into your content strategy and be able to reach more people. And when they come back to your profile or they come back to your website or wherever it may be, they kind of see really you for who you are, right? So if it's podcast clips and you have a great list of interviews and stuff that you've done, maybe you have different series or shows that you do, or product that is exceptional in your space, like it might bring a larger audience back into the fold for what you're really meaning to do. But that parody, that meme humor, it helps reach more people. I wish everyone could just start with exactly what they do and be who they are, and it can reach a broader audience and help them accomplish what they want. But unfortunately, the algorithm, as much as it changes, it doesn't favor that as much unless you have real notable people that are behind the brand, that are helping collaborate or share and magnify that message. It's an uphill battle. So this is one way I feel like you can do it for cheap or for free to be able to get out there and resonate with more people. And you all know, like you see a image of something, whether it's a meme template or just a raw image you see from something that you come across, you can probably find 10 to 20 different jokes within that image to make a meme on it, and that's where I think people thrive and get really creative and go from there. So it's a double-edged sword for sure. But for me, I did not, even just running PGAMemes and just making memes and making people laugh, like, all right, well, you can only do that so much. And even though the page gets really big and you can get some opportunities to monetize with some sponsored posts and stuff, it's nothing that's going to really fulfill you, right? And it's nothing where, I found myself sometimes in some rooms where I was around some important people or whatever, and you get introduced, and it's like, oh yeah, well, he runs PGAMemes, and it doesn't matter how many followers you have or how much money you make from the page or what good you do from it. It's also just kind of something where it's like, are you extremely proud that that's what you do? And for me, I wasn't. I felt like it's a great thing to have and it's super cool, but I'd rather have a bigger media platform, a bigger company that we're servicing other clients and doing some real cool stuff and helping a multitude of brands and people.
That
Absolutely.
that's awesome. Travis, something I've noticed as I've talked about this, but as we get to talk to more people that have achieved success, is that even what might seem successful looking at your Instagram page, there's always a ceiling. That ceiling constantly gets higher. So it sounds like that was the feeling that you felt being in those rooms.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, the next step for me was like, hey, how do I build this out to a true platform where we have, you know, an abundance of personalities or different shows? And, for me, it was memes at first. And then we did our first series called On the Tee. It was kind of during the time of COVID, and I had some budget constraints on what I was able to do. I was just going to fly around the world doing these interviews. So I created this show called On the Tee where we would interview notable people, professional golfers or celebrities that loved golf. And that's one thing I really love about golf is, you have ex NBA guys, NFL guys,
Yep.
hockey, you name it, that love golf. And they retire at such an early age that this is what they fall into. So we started On the Tee where we were just asking like 5 to 6 questions that were kind of humanizing whoever these people were, but somehow trying to tie golf back into it. And that was a huge shift in what we were doing where, hey, we're starting to do more original content, have a unique series, and we're kind of starting to open up to different audiences. Did a podcast for a while, similar to this where we didn't have any in-person guests though. It was all just, over Zoom at the time. And then evolved into our show's Home Course, which was a big hit for us. And we have season 4 that's on the cusp of launching, but that was kind of a play on MTV Cribs, where we're going to go to some of these athletes' homes and interview them with a little walk and talk, but showcase kind of their private life outside the ropes, which is cool because golf, I think a lot of us tend to have our favorite golfers, but we don't know a lot about them because, when they're on the golf course, they mean business. They don't really show a whole lot of personality or enthusiasm. And definitely even when they get to the media center afterwards, all the questions they're all the same. Like it's pretty boring. And, you get a few clips here and there of someone saying something, but it's really nothing quite like other sports. And so I thought this was a good opportunity to really showcase these athletes and do something different. And we had a lot of success. Our first episode with Jason Day got over 1 million views real quickly. And we've had plenty of other guests after that have had a lot of success, which was exciting. But my ceiling was, all right, I'm hosting these shows. I'm on this podcast. I'm hosting these events around the country. I'm only one person, and I've got a family. And so it was just like, I'm spread super thin, but at the same time, like I have different friends or takes or things that I'm into that a lot of people aren't, and so it's like I think we're like you look at a Barstool Sports, you have over 20 something personalities, and it wasn't always that way, like Dave started it out and had a few people around him, then it grew to half a dozen, then a dozen, and here they are now with just so many different people that are creative and unique. And to me, it was like, hey, here's this opportunity where I need to go down this other path of, do I need to have other people be a part of this brand and host their own shows and host their own podcasts, maybe their own events to appeal to different demographics, different age groups, and different people with different beliefs. Golf is definitely a safe space for people where you're typically not diving into controversial topics or whatever, but you do to some degree. And at the end of the day, if I had multiple people in this platform, I think it could appeal to a lot of people, whether they liked me or not, or they liked the next guy or girl or not. They might like the other 2 or 3 people involved. And so that's kind of where I'm at with PGAMemes is we've been going down the path and we have some exciting things that we're kind of diving into and looking at to where, this new year could look entirely different for us, where we have more people, more faces to the brand, and also giving different creators a platform. For me, I started fresh and I didn't know anybody in this space whatsoever. But I think being a faceless brand running a meme page, you kind of have it a little easier. you can do a lot of stuff. People don't really care who you are and what you look like, and all how old you are, whatever. But when you're actually a creator out there playing golf or trying to host a podcast or create skits or whatever it may be, it's a tough thing to start. It's a crowded space now, maybe different than what it was a few years ago. And so giving people an opportunity maybe to come in and be a contributor on our platform, it might not be a permanent thing for them, but it could be something that can help me and help them for a certain period of time until we figure out whether this is a permanent fix or they're going to move on to bigger, better things.
Well, you know what? That reminds me of building a faceless media company is kind of, the last 20 years, it's like a show like South Park or Family Guy. You can just do it forever because the characters never age. But if you do like a Modern Family or a real show, like it's tough because the characters naturally age. So that's something I never thought about, a faceless media brand. But at the same time, Travis, I feel at this point, do you not feel that you've put your face
Mhm.
out there?
Oh, yeah, for sure. We had fun with it because at first, I think when I got to like 250,000 followers, no one knew who I was whatsoever, right? There was just like a few close people that knew who was running it. But I had people like tour players' wives, caddies that were trying to figure out who it was because I would get fed some information on some people, believe it or not, of like, oh, you need to make fun of this person more. Hey, this happened or whatever. But a lot of it's just stuff that you and I would see. And so I would post stuff that only certain people maybe would know. And it got people asking questions. Well, who is it that's behind this? And um, it was fun though to play with that a little bit. But then I hit that ceiling then of like, all right, well, there's only so much I can do. And I wanted to create more opportunities. And as I started doing On the Tee, where I still wasn't part of that series, I was just like I was reaching out to these guests and sourcing the talent and having them come on and do it. I kind of started to see there was a little bit of who is this person? Like, is this a 14-year-old kid out of a basement? Who is this that's running this? Because they're now allocating their time or associating themselves with a brand that they didn't really know anything about. And I felt like at that point it was important to like let people know, hey, this is someone that has a family. I had a successful career. I'm not a psychopath or anything like that. Here I am. And so I got to meet a lot of these people when I would go to events and different things that they were at, and started cultivating some relationships with them, which was important because I couldn't have done home course without that, right? Because I went in and I'm actually hosting that show and going to their home, which is a very big ask. And once I started doing that show, I definitely was out there. I was getting a lot of views, and that was really the first time where I would go to airports or go to different golf courses or places where I'd get stopped and people like, "Oh, hey, you're PGAMemes. What's going on?" And before that, I was just this normal person in the airport or wherever I was, and no one knew who I was at all. But now I put my face out there and people know, and it is what it is. It comes with the territory, but it's certainly not at the level of like the guys from Good Good and all those guys that are really popular on YouTube. I've been out with them in public a few times, and it's pretty crazy the fanfare that they bring and the people that are just dying to get a picture with them or dying to get an autograph. It's pretty wild how creators in the golf space have taken over here in the last few years.
Totally. And Travis, there's a lot of, I would say, pros and cons of being public about your accounts and what you do. What's the most rewarding part of it all?
I mean, there's so many countless memories that I've been able to cultivate by meeting people that, I probably never would have had the chance to. There was a handful of people who I grew up admiring in different sports.
Yeah.
And, golf for sure as well, but even different sports that I watched as a teenager or as a young adult that I was just, like I'm a diehard sports fan. And to me, it was just like getting to meet some of these people, and some of them are now friends of mine, is just crazy to me. Obviously there's been some great opportunities to do some business and to make some money, but these relationships and experiences are just crazy to me. I think if you were to talk to me 10 years ago and tell me, hey, you have the opportunity to do this or that, I would have never believed you. In the space that I was in, I had an important role and was doing some really meaningful things. But the only, you know, celebrities or athletes that I would ever encounter were we'd pay some people to come to some of our exhibits that we'd have or throughout the year, and those were cool moments. And not that like definitely every celebrity or athlete you meet, some of them you wish that you never did because it could ruin it. But at the end of the day, some of these experiences and moments, I couldn't have made up in my head. And it's been really cool that it's really came from a meme page, to be able to get, experiences to go to the Masters. The first year I went there, I had a VIP experience where I had a badge and was able to go
Nice.
inside the where the umbrellas are but under the tree and into the clubhouse and all that stuff. I mean, it was just unbelievable, and I never would have had that experience hadn't I ever done something like this before. And so those are all things that I just am forever grateful for. And then the fundraising that we do through our events, I mean, that's something that, is really meaningful to my wife and I. We donate to the Children's Health Hospital, and we've had our kids be patients there. Fortunately, nothing too serious, but we know a lot of people who have had to have, surgeries and visits there that have been much more serious. And you just never know until you're in that moment how terrifying it is. And depending on what situation you are in and stuff. And so being able to do these events geographically around the country, the people who we've met through those that have contributed and helped, I mean, it's been really awesome. Like the community and the friendships that we've cultivated throughout this has been unbelievable.
That's
amazing.
beautiful. And I'm happy to hear that everything was a-okay, fortunate in the hospital over there. So another thing, Travis, you've seen the content world evolve like tremendously. You saw TikTok's emergence in the late teens, early 20s. How have you been able to stay on top of these trends or, the evolution of an Instagram, a TikTok, a YouTube? What do you do to keep yourself informed?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I'll be honest, it's a tough thing because a lot of it can just change right under your nose, and you find out about it just the same time as everybody else, no matter how
Mhm.
immersed you are into these things. But for me, it's just about, really who is it you want to touch and how do you want to get your message out? Like for me, I've gone down the path of trying to do stuff on TikTok with PGAMemes, and I've had very little success, and it's something that I haven't really put a lot of effort into after kind of our first few rounds of attempts on it. I think with TikTok, one thing that you can do really well with is if you're really forward facing on the camera and you're just super active with what you're doing. I think a lot of just individual creators do a great job. Brands that do a good job often have someone who's like specialized and focusing a lot of time on TikTok. Now, if you're firing off 161 episodes of a podcast, like you're going to have an abundance of clips and things you can do there too. And there's a lot that can cross pollinate over all these different platforms, but just being kind of keeping your eyes and ears open of what others are doing. It's somewhat of a copycat world that we live in, and there's opportunity to kind of learn from other creators, but also kind of take a step back and look to see how it can be different for you and your brand and what kind of message you want to get across. Because like with 5ix9ine, there's a bunch of brands that we work with where we'll help them on all platforms, and they're active on all of them. And so it's a tough, tall task where you can't just post something and have it be on every platform. You can, but you'll see quickly that it performs a lot differently on one platform over the other. And some might marry up really well, but you just have to really have that patience and get ahead of the content. At the end of the day, the best way to go about content, whether you're a brand or a creator, is to go out and constantly create and, don't have a knee jerk reaction of feeling like you have to get stuff up right away. Put a calendar together of what kind of cadence makes sense and really put a strategy around it. So that way, it resonates well with the audience and you can make sure that there's no gaps in what you're trying to do and move forward with it. And it's a tough thing to do though. I mean, it sounds easy when you say it, but in reality, it's a tough deal to go out and create content depending on who you are. Even if you are a great content creator, life happens and things can get in the way. So that's why it's best to always just be ahead of it and have a few weeks or a month worth of content, at bay whenever you may need it.
Yeah. Well, for someone that's creating their own content or media company, what are some non-negotiable things that have to happen every single day?
Oh man, that's a loaded question there. Really, when it comes down to it, is like obviously phone content can be just as good as just shooting on, like, we have Sony A7s we do primarily with 5.9. We're shooting like high quality stuff. But what I've found, like for PGAMemes, you can go shoot on an iPhone all day long, and oftentimes that can perform just as good or better. The algorithm sometimes rewards that type of video content. But what's non-negotiable is just make sure to go buy some like DJI mics or something like that. You've got to be mic'd up. I think there's oftentimes a lot of times creators will get on there and create content, and the sound is so ruffled. It's not good. I mean, you guys have high quality equipment here, obviously, but it's a podcast. But even out on the golf course, get out there and have good mics. It's the best investment you possibly could have, and go from there. There's so many apps out there today too that just help cut up content. So, trust in the process, learn as you go, but don't be too picky, man. You can make mistakes on Instagram. You can make mistakes on TikTok. Learn from them. Don't be too picky. There's some brands we work with that are so picky. They come down to like precise captions that they want to see and they want to have. It's just, listen, test everything, be creative, see what responds, and go back. And that's really what it comes down to. But really, the biggest non-negotiable thing is just get good mics. That's what you need. And
Right
I don't
on.
know. To me, like, there's this preference. There's guys who wear the mics. You've seen them sometimes where like they're on their hats.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe a little much. You can get like the lav mics, obviously, that you're going to plug in and go from there. That might be too high tech for some people. You just get those DJI mics. I think they're like under $200, and go get them. They sync up with your iPhone, super easy, and the quality of content is going to be so much better, going to reach more people. And fake it till you make it, man. I mean, at the end of the day, you can start with 0 followers, but you have good content, you're shooting in 4K or whatever, and you've got good sound, you can look like $1 million, and one of these reels or clips can hit the algorithm and get millions of views. And, that could be the huge start that you need to get cooking.
On the hunt for legendary wings, Buffalo's in Bloomington, Indiana, and Carmel, Indiana has you covered. Crowned top 10 wings in the nation by USA Today, our wings are a fan favorite. Dip into Mrs. Louie's famous sweet Q sauce for that sweet and tangy kick. Visit Buffalo's and wing it like a pro.
Not only do you do content, you also have a nice apparel company. Talk to us about the 1764 hat you got on.
Yeah, so Bobby DeMeo is a good friend of mine. He was the first person that I worked with in the golf space. Bobby started Short Par Forum. Not sure if you guys have heard of it, but it's a subscription-based company where you can subscribe at different levels and get a box sent to your house every month. He started 1764 a few years ago, and I've been partnered with him. And they're just a great company, great people. And that's the thing, is when you partner with people, you want to make sure they're good people, like-minded, and they're creative. And these guys are just unbelievably creative. We have them big time at all of our events, where people are getting polos, hats, pullovers, speakers, head covers, you name it. But they're not just like your typical stuff. Like our event this last week we had in LA, we had Ryder Cup head covers that had the New York City skyline on them with the Bethpage Black like warning symbol on the reverse side.
Nice.
They're very specific and relative to like what's going on. And it's been really fun, to work with them, be a part of what they're doing and building. And, we have a lot of big things in store of what we're going to be doing, together. But, to go down that path even further, Evan, like golf to me, when I started this, I was just getting into it. I was playing decent, but I never had my mind wrapped around like owning golf companies or,
Yeah.
really being a big play in it. But, now I think 5+ years into doing stuff with PGAMemes, there's a lot of brand opportunities that you could be a part of, where people want to pay you for post campaigns or to be a sponsor on different shows. And those are all still great. And, we take those all very seriously and try to align ourselves with the right brands. But now this last year, we've kind of really started focusing on coming in and being partners with some of these brands and having ownership claim in them. And today, we have Northwestern, which is a golf brand we've brought back that was started in 1929. And it was started in Chicago and was handed over generation until the early 2000s when it finally kind of saw its day and went away for a little bit. Well, a couple guys brought it back, been working behind the scenes. One's a Titleist executive that had retired. And I came into it last spring, and now I'm a partner in that business. We're selling golf clubs and bringing back a historic brand. We knew like we wanted to cater to beginning golfers and have sets that were, under $700 for real true beginners, and then we have a set that's around $1,000 for guys that are between that 10 to 20 handicap. But we basically looked outside the box of how can we find someone that can appeal to the daily fee golfer, the weekend warrior. And I have a great relationship with this guy. And so we started down the path of talking to John Daly. And so John's a good friend of mine.
Nice.
And he appeals to the everyday golfer. He appeals to the weekend warrior. He speaks your language, whether obviously he plays great. He's a 2-time major champion, but he'll go out there and smoke a bunch of cigarettes. He'll drink a lot of drinks and have a good time. And so talking to John, one of his first sets ever was a Northwestern set of golf clubs. And so there was already this like instant resonation with him. And, going down the path, made perfect sense. So we've brought John on not only as an ambassador, but a partner in the business. And so we're working with him to develop a signature set of clubs that will be available for 2 different groups of juniors, and we'll have an adult version for men and women as well that are super cool. The design is awesome. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun with it. But John moves the needle just about as much as anybody. I've created memes now for a long time, and Tiger Woods obviously moves the needle like crazy.
Sure.
We're seeing less and less of Tiger these days. I feel like everything that comes out with Tiger is an update on his back or, his Achilles or whatever. With John, the needle it's crazy to see. Like you post a video or a meme of John, the traction it gets is unbelievable. Even though I don't even know the last time John won a golf tournament. It's been forever.
Yeah.
But then, his role in Happy Gilmore too. Like even I think
That was
himself,
great.
I don't think he realized how much of a role he was going to have in that movie. And he's just great to be around, and I'm sure like, I mean, I don't know how much was set before they started shooting, but I'd imagine, he vibed very well with Adam Sandler and those guys. And I think his role just evolved even more. And so he was already wildly popular, and now here we are. Like, I think that he's been introduced even to a bigger and a broader audience of people. So I think from a timing perspective, it couldn't be better for us with Northwestern. So yeah, we're really pumped and excited to partner with John and see where things evolve.
Yeah, that's a winner.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
thank
a
you.
total winner. Travis, I know. So I met you a year and a half ago at Trump Doral in Miami, and that's kind of how our communication began. Live Golf's evolved a lot since then. We've been outspoken. We like Live Golf. We had Greg Norman Jr. on back in August. He said it best. Like we were just covering the evolution then to now Cristiano Ronaldo and Tom Brady's going out there in the spring taking a big check. When you got your initial, you work with Live Golf very closely. Was there pushback from the PGA Tour regarding your name, PGAMemes?
No, believe it or not, I've never had any issues with the name. I've done stuff with the PGA of America, PGAMemes, and the only time it's ever come up is when I've actually asked, because I got to a point where I started having some conversations with the PGA Tour around a few activations we were doing. And they were like, no, like we love it, like everything's great, And I think I was in a good spot because PGA was kind of, it's used by multiple entities and stuff.
Yeah.
So like I was like targeting one over the other, but they've left me alone with it, which has been great. With Live, listen, I didn't start golf until I was later, right, or in life. And so I don't have any affiliations with anybody. And I can tell you the PGA Tour has done absolutely nothing for me. Like the existence of it and it being there certainly has helped, but I've never gotten paid by the PGA Tour. I've never got invited to an event by the PGA Tour at all. And so the first time I ever really got invited to anything was over in Abu Dhabi with the HSBC Championship, and it was a group out of Dubai that I'm still close with. It's a agency called Tactical. I got invited to go out there and do some content with them, and opened the door for me to do stuff at the time with world number one Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, and Patrick Cantlay, and then a variety of other players like Ian Poulter, Lee Westwood, Shane Lowry. I mean, there was some Tommy Fleetwood. There was a ton of great players out there. So I went out there and spent a week, had a great time. And I did some stuff with the CJ Cup out here, but I got hired by CJ and BBGO. It wasn't the PGA Tour. When Live happened, I already had a relationship with Greg Norman and his team. And I actually, kind of bringing this all back, I was at the Ryder Cup in Wisconsin, and I found myself sitting next to this lady who worked with Greg, who we had never actually met before. And so we started talking, and we're catching up on things. And then I get an email from her literally like 2 days afterwards that she was no longer with the Greg Norman company or whatever. And I'm like, this is random. Like, we were literally going through all these things and talking about stuff, and she's not with them anymore. So I wrote back just 5 question marks, and she writes back right away. She's like, oh, hey, great stuff happening. She's like, Greg actually wants to talk to you. I'm going to pass your number. And I'm like, okay. And I get a call from Greg, within the next day or so. And he's like, hey, the rumors about starting this league, it's true. And I'm going to be the commissioner and CEO of it. I look at things differently. He goes, obviously there's golf.com and Golf Digest and all these big media platforms. He's like, but I look at you as an effective media platform as well. He's like, you resonate with a younger audience. That's what we're looking for. He goes, you've been great to work with and loyal to me. He's like, I want to open the door and the opportunity for you to do some cool stuff. I don't know what that means, down the road, but I just want to make that open to you. Our first event is in London. Love to have you there, So I'm like, all right. I mean, Greg Norman, legendary golfer who's been nothing but great to me, is opening the door for me to do kind of whatever I want. Like, that sounds like a great plan for someone that runs a meme page. And and a lot of the players who went over there were people who I was friends with. So it made it even that much easier to where when I went to do content with players, I knew who they were. We'd done stuff previously together. And so I went over to London, and it was an unbelievable experience. I mean, they flew me over there, business class, got a hotel. I had full access to everything during the practice rounds, the tournament. I mean, I'm inside the ropes. I'm on the second tee box during the first round of the event, following DJ and a couple guys. And DJ comes up to me and he's like, dude, he's like, what do you think about this? He's like, this is crazy, huh? I'm just like, yeah, it is. I'm like, this is unbelievable, and tons of fans. And I'm getting death threats from people back in the States for just being there. And dude, I'm just like, this is insane. And losing followers, getting death threats, just getting hate DMs left and right. But I'm like, man, put yourself in my shoes here. I don't have a dad that's a PGA professional. I don't have anything to do with PGA Tour. I wasn't going to change my name to Live Memes, but the thought came across my mind. I'm like, man, now there's 2 leagues. Should I change my name to something different? And I just rolled with it. In that first year, I went to a handful of events and really got an opportunity to create some really cool content. And then the second year, though, was when I officially got onto the payroll of Live. I was running all their pro-ams and inviting celebrities and athletes to come there, and we were hosting them. I did a podcast with Live and just some different content stuff. And, even then it was a great opportunity, and got to be, there in the beginnings of a sports league getting started up, and get to see and meet a lot of great people. And they've had a lot of changes over the years, as you're aware. I mean, leadership has changed virtually every year. This is let's say last year, Greg's involvement was very little to none. And this year it was completely nothing, which has changed a lot. And so my involvement now has really been, last year I went to 3 events. This year I went to 1. But I support it. I think it's cool. It's different, and to me, I think golf needed a little bit of a change, and I wish there was a place where they could come together, though. I wish that these guys could all play together, because when they do, it's a lot more fun to watch. And I don't think Live itself is something that could stand on its own 2 feet forever. PGA Tour has proven that it can, especially with the majors. So I think like what would be cool, in my opinion, would just to have like a 6 tournament series that's like Live, that lives within the tournament, the PGA Tour season, whether that's all kind of condensed to the fall or it's spread out over time. Because I think TGL sucks. Like I'm not a fan of that at all, dude. Like I can't like
Yeah, agreed.
Yep.
I would say full transparency, the first 20 minutes watching it, I actually was really into it. I was like, wow, this is actually a lot better than I could have imagined. And then like the next 20 minutes happened and it just like I lost all interest. And I tried a couple more times and it was just nothing to me. And I also kind of like took like offense to like some of the stuff they're doing is exactly what Liv was doing with team stuff and the celebrations and the hype.
Yeah.
And it kind of bothered me because a lot of the people who were fans of TGL or playing in TGL were the ones that were the loudest criticizing Liv. And so it's just like super hypocritical to me that here they are now doing an indoor league that certainly means far less than what Liv means. So I don't know. To me, it's just like I wish there's a way that these leagues can come back together, but Liv is not going anywhere. I mean, those guys have trillions of dollars and they love golf a lot.
No doubt.
There was a podcast that Brandel Chambly was on recently where he was talking about some time spent with Trump, and he was talking about how Yasir, who runs the PIF, loves golf more than anybody he knows. And I could sit there and I can attest to that. Like this guy, he'll play in the Pro-Am and he'll go group to group. Like he'll play one hole with like my group, then he'll leave and go play with another group. And like he wants to play with everybody and he loves golf. And I've seen him do that a handful of times. And every time he's just getting that much better, talking about the lessons he's getting and the time spent. Like he is truly obsessed with golf. And I think he sees these pro golfers as friends and people who he wants to be around. And think about it like us. Like if we all had billions of dollars or trillions of dollars and we could start a golf league and cherry pick our favorite players and in the NFL golf, like would you do it?
Of course.
I
There's
mean,
no
you might
doubt.
not be a profit center right away, but would you
Yeah.
want to do it just for fun? Like, oh yeah, you know what? F the NFL. I created my own league and it's awesome. And I've got all the best players over here and it's cool, and we'll figure it out sooner or later, but they have to diversify their, what they're doing with
Yep.
their money and everything. And it just makes sense,
Well, Travis, so we had media passes on Wednesday for Live Golf Indy. Was it Wednesday? Oh, yeah, Wednesday.
Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah, Tuesday and Wednesday, Live Golf Indy. And people make the argument that these guys don't take it seriously, but I can tell you that's far from the truth. They're there grinding, they're putting, they're there for 5, 6, 7 hours just working on their game. So the people that make the arguments that these guys don't care anymore, they took the money, like it's totally garbage. You're friendly with these guys, like these guys care just as much as the guys on the tour, PGA Tour.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, let's just look at it from both tours. I didn't understand what you just said at all until I was there, right? Like, cause like, dude, we all play golf. Like maybe we go play on the weekend and maybe it's every weekend, maybe it's every other or whatever. Like you don't really appreciate how hard these guys work until you see it firsthand, like especially the PGA Tour guys or the guys on the Corn Ferry Tour where they finish an event on a Sunday, they hop on a flight to the next place. It's all on them money wise. They're grinding on Monday, they're grinding on Tuesday, they're grinding on Wednesday. They play practice rounds, then they go back and spend hours and hours in the bunker on the range on the putting green, and and their caddies are just standing there, helping them and watching them and helping them, whatever they need to do. It's insane how much time they put into it. And there's nothing different on Live. I think that the in the back of their head, at least for the first couple of years of losing their spot or worrying about, enough money to get by with, this, that, or the other, I think those things were completely removed from their mind. And I think you saw some people actually play better golf initially. And then there are people who have struggled. And like Cam Smith has struggled recently. Dustin had his first year, I think, ever or in a long time where he didn't get a win. Brooks has struggled a little bit, but like, okay, well, you can sit there and say that that's Live, but all right, what's going on with Ricky Fowler? What's going on with Jordan Spieth?
Yep.
all those guys have struggled. Justin Thomas went through some struggles and he kind of reemerged and fought his way back to play well in the Ryder Cup and do his thing. But like everyone struggles in golf. It's a tough sport. But I think, yeah, can there be a few people who got fat and happy and have suffered? Yeah, I'm sure there have been. But
Yeah.
I think you can see that too on the PGA Tour. If someone has a really good year and they make a lot of money and win some events, they could probably take their foot off the gas a little bit and then they struggle for a while, But DJ has definitely circled the wagons. I think you're going to see Dustin have a really good year next year. I think he takes it personal that he wasn't a part of like the Ryder Cup, that he, maybe hasn't really had a presence at the majors. So I think some of those guys you're seeing are going to turn the page a little bit to start competing. But that whole narrative of like, oh, now you're at Live and you're not working hard, I think that's total bullshit. I don't think there's any truth to that at all. It could be an isolated type of issue with a couple of players, but definitely not the whole league.
Agreed. And another key point that Greg Jr. discussed was the camaraderie these guys have being on a team. He made the point that a lot of these PGA guys, like, it's very solo dolo. You do your thing week in and week out, get on the plane Sunday, go home. Whereas like these Live guys, they're getting dinner together, they're training together, they're flying together. For the guys that on tour, can you speak on that?
Yeah, I mean, what he said is spot on. I've gone to Jason's one of our clients, it's Jason Day. And so when we go to his events, it's very isolated. Like he's a guy who's friends with everybody, but he's not going to go out and do stuff. Like he spends a lot of time with his family. Ricky, who was our client for a while, same thing, like very isolated. Everyone loved him and stuff, but it's quiet, man. There's like nothing going on at the range. There's no music or anything. So it's real quiet. It's very serious. They'll go out and play practice rounds with a variety of different people. I think majors, you could see them get together with like their buddies and you see like the pictures and, the coverage of some of that. But these regular events, it's just very isolated. It feels very lonely. And really their core people is going to be their coaches, their physio, their trainers, all that stuff. They have, some of them have mental coaches, and those are the people who are always with them. They have their own little personal entourage. But with Live, it for sure is different. I mean, you've got these players who you never in a million years would have thought would have meshed well with one another or care for another. And they're there together. They're practicing together. They're helping each other. Their coaches are all kind of working together. They all share kind of, some of them have kind of adapted to share some same coaches or same physios. And yeah, they're traveling together. They're breaking bread together. It's pretty cool to see. And the team concept of Live, which I think a lot of people give most crap to, is kind of the most fun thing once you truly understand it. Like knowing that, like, coming down the stretch on a Sunday, if Patrick Reed is 20th place in Live, which isn't very good, if he plays well on Sunday, everything he does contributes to the team. And so you'll see people who like him who care maybe go nuclear and shoot like a 65 on Sunday, which means absolutely nothing for him personally. I mean, sure, if he goes up the leaderboard, he can make a little more money, but really what they're doing mostly is for their team.
Yep.
So if you go out and shoot a 65 and shoot 6 or 7 under, that can help catapult your team into third, second, or first place, which still yields a lot of money. But the team gets fired up. They're fighting for each other. They do not want to be that guy who packs it in and plays like crap, where you have 3 people out there playing well and one guy shoots a 78 and just totally ruins it for everybody. Like, it just, not only can you hide down at the bottom of the leaderboard as an individual, but if you play like crap, it's going to really hurt your team and hurt your chances to continue to play on that team. And it's just like there for everybody to see. It's just like right there. It's easily exposed and it's not good. So you see people fighting every round for something. Whereas you go to like the Sanderson's Farm Championship, and let's say that one of the guys shoots 74, 72 the first 2 days, and they miss the cut, they pack it up and they leave. Or some guys purposely miss cuts if they're just so far behind. And then if they make the cut and they're like 10 shots off or more going into Sunday, how many times do you see someone really just fight from the bottom of the leaderboard for any reason whatsoever? Like, it just doesn't happen. Like, a lot of times people are just, let's get this round over with and let's move on to the next week. And there's obviously reasons behind that, but with live, that just eliminates it, which I think it makes it that much more interesting. So I think once you really kind of open your mind up to that, of why the team event matters, it actually makes the viewership a lot more fun and enjoyable, especially following the different players.
Absolutely. Now, Travis, you've had two pretty different careers. You've traveled around a lot. For someone who seeks to live an extraordinary life, what advice do you give to them?
Just be a good person, be humble, man. I mean, that's the thing
Love
is
that.
I've seen people like pro athletes and creators that have been on both sides of the spectrum where they're just awesome people. They're so warm and receptive and just they want to help other people around them. And then I've seen the flip side of the coin. And on the creator side, it's super disappointing because who are you without your fans or the people who consume your content? But I've seen people that are just, self-righteous, or people who don't want to give back or spend time with people. And it's crazy to me. Like, I certainly don't have a lot of people that are running up to be like, oh, PGAMemes, what's going on? Like, I'll people stop me and get some pictures here and there.
Yeah.
But when I do talk to people who are wanting to start a brand or want help, I'll take the time out of my day to chat with them and give them any guidance or direction I possibly can. But just be a good person and help others, and just, that's really what it all comes down to, because I believe in that. If you're that type of person, that kind of mindset, other doors will open, more opportunities will open, and just more good things will come from it. And I don't think anyone can disagree that that's not something that they want, right? Everyone's looking to
Yep.
grow. There's plenty of room here in this boat to grow and rise together, and that's ultimately what I strive for, and hopefully everyone else can too as well.
Thanks, man.
Travis, thanks for spending the last hour with us. This is loved learning more about you and your careers, and it's been a lot of fun. We're looking forward to this for a long time, man.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you boys. Thanks for the time.
You got and Travis, for anyone that listening, they want to keep up with you and your work. What's the best way to go about that?
Yeah, just follow us on PGAMemes. If you want to follow us on 5 9 Media as well, mostly on Instagram. PGAMemes, we're going to be launching our season 4 of Home Course coming up soon. We've got a lot of great guests that are going to be there, so I'm really excited to bring that season back, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. But again, appreciate your guys' time and giving me the platform to share some of these stories and some of the fun memories along the way.
Yeah, I'm excited
Thanks, man.
I'm excited for all that. Travis, thanks so much, brother. A lot of fun.
Thank you guys.